Hello, my loves. Welcome to another episode of Back to Self podcast. It's a therapeutic podcast. And today we will talk about something that many of us went through but didn't have the word for it. We didn't know how to describe it. Yet this is something that shaped us, shaped our personality, shaped how we show up, how we love, how we show up for others, how we see ourselves, how we connect with people, how we see the world. So it really shaped us. That word is parentification. It sounds heavy, right? And it is. In many ways, it is very heavy because it made us carry on the weight, the burden of the responsibility way younger than and way sooner than we actually meant to. It's also freeing to name it because when we can name it, it also means we can start to heal from it. So let's dive in together. Take a deep breath with me. This is going to be compassionate conversation, gentle, honest, and hopefully healing. So let's start with definition of parentification. What exactly is parentification? Parentification happens when the roles between parent and a child are actually reversed. So instead of the parent providing stability, support, giving love, teaching, being there for the child steps in and takes that role. The role of caretaker, the child becomes the responsible one. The child is the adult in the room. The child will guide the parent, will be there. There are two main forms of parentification. One is practical parentification. So this is where the child is asked to take on adult responsibilities in the household. For example, it could be cooking dinners, baking, looking after the siblings, making sure that the younger siblings have their homework done, paying bills, doing grocery shopping, cleaning. So all of the housework. The other form is emotional parentification, where the child had to be there emotionally for the parent. So the child became emotional support. So instead of them being suited, they are the ones suiting. Instead of the child being held, they are the ones holding. They are really the supportive system for the parent. And having said that, sometimes we have experienced both forms of parentification. We were both. We were the practical support, looking after the household, the siblings, cleaning, cooking, but we were also emotional support for the parents. So we were actually both. And what makes it probably the most difficult to name or difficult to recognize is because socially, this is very accepted. This is very normalized. And at the same time, it's very invisible to the world because society will praise you for it. I'm sure you heard comments like, "Oh my God, you're so mature for your age. This is amazing. We can always rely on you. We are so proud of you. Thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you. You're so responsible. This is amazing. How mature you are. We can always rely on you. You're good as a gold." Yeah. So we have been praised for something, but underneath that praise is a huge weight that the child had to carry on their shoulders. No one saw it. No one asked why this child have to be so mature for their age. What is going on that this child doesn't act like a child? It actually acts like an adult. What is happening that this child doesn't act like a child. Instead, oh my God, you're such a gold child. You make such easy for your parents. This is amazing. This is not amazing. This is trauma. And this wasn't your fault. It's just another coping mechanism. You learned to do it so you could survive. You didn't have the safety, so you created a safety for yourself. So let me give you some examples of parentification, because I know many of you will feel this inside your bones. So maybe you were the one who woke up your younger siblings, got them dressed, made them breakfast, walked them to school, and it wasn't because you wanted to play a big sister or big brother. It was because if you didn't do it, no one else would do that. Maybe you sat up late at night, listening to your parent, complaining and crying about money, relationships, heartbreak, health, while you were still a child yourself, with your own fears and needs left unspoken. Maybe you cooked dinner at the age of 10, baked, made groceries, kept the house clean, because if you didn't do it, no one else would or could. Maybe you were the one interpreting for your parents. You were interpreting the bills, documents, conversations in another language because your parents couldn't. You have become their translator, their voice, before you had a chance to find out your own voice. Or maybe you were the emotional peacekeeper. You learned to read the room. You learned to read the mood in the room before you even walked in. You already were scanning. Is mom sad? Is dad angry today? Are they drunk? What is the mood like? What is the vibe like? What's going on? What do they need me to do? Do I need to stay quiet today so things don't explode? Do I need to mind dad? Do I need to mind mom? Maybe you felt like you had to stay with your mom, having conversations with her, even though your friends were outside and you wanted to play with them, but you couldn't because you felt like you had to stay with your mom because you didn't want to abandon her. You didn't want her to feel guilty. You didn't want her to feel alone. So instead, you stayed with her so she didn't feel alone or lonely. You kept her company. Maybe you felt like you had to be at home just before dad came back from work because you had to manage the situation. You never knew whether dad would come back sober or not, so you had to stay to manage, to control the mood, to save. So if any of these examples are hitting you hard right now, I want you to know you're not on your own. You're not alone, and it's not your fault. Another very difficult thing in parentification is that we have normalized it. We normalized the burden that we have been carrying for so many years. We normalized the responsibilities that we were carrying on. We told ourselves, this is life, this is normal, this has just made me stronger. I remember for many years, the mantra of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger was my mantra. I kept saying over and over again, just to get me going, just to get me survive. Parentified children, we wore responsibilities like it was the badge of honor. We took pride of being independent, in being the one who held everything together, who held it all together. We were never asking for help. We were so strong, so independent, so put together, no mistakes. And yet, we made ourselves so reliable. People could just come and rely on us. Wherever they needed, they had it. and we took so much pride of it. But here's the truth. This was not normal. This wasn't healthy. And that wasn't what childhood meant to be. It was trauma, a silent, hidden type of trauma that doesn't always leave visible scars, but it shapes everything. So this brings us to see how parentification is shaping our personalities. What happens to that child when they grow up? What happens to the little ones who had to act like an adult? What happens to them when they are actually becoming the adult, the real adult? Often these children grow into adults who are hyper responsible. You feel like you can never let anything drop. Caretakers in every relationship. You always checking on everyone, always putting others first. You don't pay attention to your own needs. People pleasers. You don't want to disappoint anyone, ever. Perfectionists. Because making mistakes as a child may have come with heavy consequences. Hyper-independent. You tell yourself, I don't need anyone. You don't ask for help. You can do all by yourself. But on the other side, you're deeply empathetic, but burnt out. You always are attuned to other people's needs, but completely disconnected from your own. You want connection, but at the same time, you're so afraid of feeling connected with anyone or to anything. Does this sound familiar? Can you recognize any of those personalities traits in you? Let's look now at the struggles. So the struggles that parentified children face with as an adult is that you're probably feeling guilty every time you're going to rest. The minute you sit down, you feel like you should be doing something. You didn't deserve to sit down, that there's something else to be done. You feel like you have to earn that rest. You have to exhaust yourself and then you can rest. You might actually struggle with anxiety, constantly scanning the environment for problems to fix. You're constantly looking ahead. You're never really truly present. And if you are present, you're scanning and you're already trying to be a few steps ahead. You might struggle with depression because carrying such a burden, carrying such a weight on your shoulders constantly for so many years, it will have its toll on you. Burnout, overworking, overgiving, overdoing, overcaring until your body and your mind collapse. Difficulty asking for help because needing something meant feeling unsafe or led to disappointment. So you prefer not to have needs. You prefer not to listen to your needs, not to want anything, not to have any desires. Another struggle you might actually face is that you recreate the same dynamic, the same patterns. Maybe in your relationships, you are finding yourself always being the fixer, the rescuer, the one holding everything together, even when you're falling apart inside. You don't really have any sense of self. No self-respect, no desires, no voice, no needs, loads of expectations, loads of demands. Deep down, you always feel you're not good enough. Deep down, you always feel like you don't matter. You're afraid to take too much space. You're afraid to be too visible because you're afraid to be seen as selfish. You're afraid to be seen as too bold. You're afraid to want something. Let me say this clearly. This was not your fault. These are not your flaws. These are just survival strategies You did what you had to do, and it worked. It kept your family afloat. But now, as an adult, these coping mechanisms are not longer working. They worked once, but now you're changing. But now the same coping strategies, they might no longer serving you. Was once helpful, now it actually might hurt you because it's not who you are deep down. Now you can see this is not who you are. These are just your coping mechanisms, something that helped you survive, but it's not who you are. I want to pause here and speak directly to you. I see your need to always having your emotions and needs on leash. I see the exhaustion of always being the strong one. I see the way you put on a smile while carrying the weight of your world. I see how hard it is for you to say no, to put yourself first, and to let someone else take care of you. I see how hard it is for you to trust someone and allow yourself to rely on them. But I also want to say this. What you went through was not fair. It was not normal. It wasn't your fault. You deserved to be a child. You deserved to play, to rest, to laugh, to make mistakes, and still know that you loved and safe. So this is probably where many of you want to know, how do we heal from parentification? The first step is always naming what it was like for you, naming your own truth. Yes, I was parentified. I wasn't weak. I wasn't dramatic. I was a child in an adult role. Second step is grieving, allowing yourself to feel sadness, allowing yourself to feel anger, the loss of the childhood you didn't have, you didn't get to live, acknowledging the loss, all those what it could be that actually passed, that never happened, all those things that you could but didn't have. Third step is to set boundaries, learning to say no, learning that you don't always have to fix, save, help, and be there constantly for other people, making yourself constantly available. You don't need that. You don't want that. And here I suggest you go into one of the links and download one of the free masterclass about how to set boundaries effectively. It's one of the gifts from me to you, so I encourage you to get it for yourself. Fourth step is asking for help. And I know that this one might feel terrifying, but healing often happens in the small moments. And let's remember, trauma isolates us from people. Trauma happens solo. So this step, it will be almost like teaching yourself a new reality. And asking for help is something that it will feel like you have to come out of your comfort zone. It's okay. Just allow yourself to do it. And this could be letting a friend listening to you. It could be letting your partner to cook dinner for yourself. Letting yourself to be supported without shame. Letting yourself to feel loved and cared for. Healing is about reconnecting. Just to remember that. Fifth step is reparenting your inner child. Very important step. Giving yourself the things that you didn't have. Giving yourself the things that you didn't get. Play, rest, comfort, understanding, love, connection, voice. A safe space just to be, without needing to perform or to achieve, without any demands, without any expectations, allowing yourself to feel good enough, allowing yourself like you deserve this life. And again, in here, I warmly invite you to my inner child workshops, All information you will find in the second link. The sixth step is reframing your definition of strength. You are strong. Yes, you are capable, but you're also tender, vulnerable, human. You have limitations. It's about owning those parts as well. It's about accepting that you're not perfect, accepting that you will make mistakes, and normalize those things without giving out to yourself, without having that abusive relationship or abusive conversation in your mind every time you feel like you made a mistake. Acknowledging your weaknesses, you also deserve that. And you also deserve to look after those parts of yourself as well. So, if today's episode stirred something in you, I want you to take a deep breath and say to yourself, it wasn't my fault. I was a child and I deserved to be cared for. Parentification is trauma, but the healing is possible. And the healing begins with telling yourself the truth, your truth, with naming what happened, and with choosing day by day to care for yourself the way you have deserved. To be more mindful of the relationship you have with yourself. Be more aware of the inner critic. Pay attention to that voice. Is it abusive? Is it constantly given out to yourself? Is it constantly judgmental? If so, this is just the survival strategy. This is just the survival coping mechanism that no longer serves you. Choose yourself for once. Without shame, without judgment, without criticism, but instead with acceptance, curiosity, kindness, and love. Look at yourself with closed eyes. Remember how young you once were, how innocent you once were. That part of you deserved love. And only you can actually reparent your inner child. Only you can heal that part of yourself. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of the Back to Self Therapeutic Podcast. Till next time. And may you continue the brave, beautiful journey of returning home, back to self. Bye.